There's an elite outfielder that is actively being shopped, and the Dodgers have been linked to him. Should they trade top prospects for him? We've got that and 10 outfielders the Dodgers could trade for. That's coming up next on Dodgers Dugout.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
Welcome to Dodger Stadium.
Dodgers win!
This is the golden age of Dodger baseball.
Grand slam! It's a double for Freddie.
They're going to make big signings. They're going to make impact trades. This is the most anticipated season in Dodgers history.
Dodgers have won it all in 2020.
Think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.
What is up, Dodgers Nation? Doug McKain here, credentialed member of Dodgers Media. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DMAC_LA. Now, if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor and subscribe to the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and join over 92,000 subscribers. The #1 Dodgers YouTube channel in the game is all thanks to you. And this year is the year of the fan at Dodgers Nation. We want to give back. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and comment GOAT Tani down below so you're eligible for a Shohei Ohtani Road Gray authentic number 17 jersey. Got a lot of giveaways in store, so stay tuned for those. And as always, I want your fire takes down below in the comment section. I read them. I'm going to start responding more to them, and I want to know from you, do you think the Dodgers should trade multiple top 10 prospects for Chicago White Sox outfielder Luis Robert Jr.? Who do you think they should trade for at the deadline? I want all your trade Dodgers takes down below. Also, a reminder that this episode of Dodgers Dugout Live is brought to you by our friends over at Bet Online. Bet Online is your #1 source for the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals this season. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head over to their online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BLEAV, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online. The game starts here. And for our latest Dodgers news, head over to DodgersNation.com. Okay, so you guys already know, nothing gets me more hyped, nothing gets me more juiced than the MLB trade deadline. It is like Christmas to me, along with the MLB offseason, the free agent frenzy, the hot stove. That's like my birthday. The trade deadline is like Christmas to me. And I couldn't be more excited because even though the Dodgers committed over $1.2 billion in the offseason, they signed the most coveted free agent in MLB history in Shohei Ohtani. They signed Yoshinobu Yamamoto and all these great players. They had an existing roster filled with elite talent like Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Will Smith. They still have some holes to fill, and there's still some moves to be made to be the final piece to this Dodgers World Series puzzle, to take this team over the top, because it's clear at this point. Offensively, yes, they have their days where they look like a juggernaut. When the MV3, the top of the Dodgers lineup, with Mookie and Ohtani and Freddie, when they're doing their thing, and Will Smith and Teoscar Hernandez. But too often we see the bottom of the lineup struggling. Too often we haven't seen enough production from the Dodgers outfield. And if you look at the season as a whole, the Dodgers outfield, an 87 weighted runs created plus. So they've been 13% below league average offensively. And if you're looking for a bat, the outfield is a place to look, because you can find above average hitters. You can find guys on shorter term deals, guys on expiring contracts. Sometimes they're not at a premium position. So if you're looking for a bat, the outfield is a spot where the Dodgers lack, and there are some names that could be available, and some will cost a lot of prospects, some not as much, but there are definitely some names out there that could improve this Dodgers lineup, and we're going to start right at the top. Now, who will be the top outfielder available at the trade deadline? Well, it's none other than Chicago White Sox center fielder Luis Robert Jr. And earlier this week, ESPN MLB insider Jeff Passan, he wrote this about Robert's availability. The worst team in baseball is open for business. Outfielder Tommy Pham might be the most certain player of any to be dealt, but there are no sacred cows on the south side. Yes, the White Sox are willing to deal center fielder Luis Robert Jr., who is expected to return from a hip injury this week and is signed through 2027. So he has already returned, and we're going to get into his injury history in a second. But this came this morning from MLB insider Jon Heyman. He wrote for the New York Post, the White Sox are actively seeking packages for Robert, and with two team options at a club-friendly $20 million and just $63 million to go through 2027, assuming the options are exercised, he combines control and talent like no one else out there. Worry over injury history is the negative herd, but many need outfielders. Dodgers, Phillies, Royals, chances to be dealt good. Okay, so first order of business, let's break out that Dodgers rumor meter. And for this rumor that has Luis Robert being traded at the trade deadline, I'm going to give this 3 Dodger dogs, 3 firm Dodger dogs. There is some serious smoke here. I don't think that this is just a situation where they're listening to offers. Jon Heyman said the word actively. He also included the Dodgers as one of the teams that needs an outfielder. Now, of course, you're in this business. You got to include the Dodgers. Gets the clicks up, it gets the interest up, but there are going to be many suitors once this process begins. Now, first, let's get into his contract. Now, if you look at his contract status, Roberts is signed through the 2027 season. He's owed a little under $8 million to the remainder of the 2024 season and an additional $45 million over the next 3 seasons. He also has a $20 million club option for 2026 and 2027, both with a $2 million buyout. So we're talking about 3.5 years, the rest of this season, and 3 more full seasons after that for an MVP caliber player at $63 million. The maximum would be $63 million for an all-star MVP caliber talent in his prime. Really can make the case he's in his pre-prime because he's still 26 years old. Now, that to me is where you have to start, is he's under so much team control, and any team that gets Robert's services gets him for 3 full seasons and the rest of this year. So that means that you get a great player with a great contract, and he's at the perfect age for any team that's either a contender or a team that's looking to win 2 years from now, right? I mean, a team that still is on the rise, not just a 1-year rental or a player that has 1 more year of team control. He can help you the rest of this season and 3 more years after that, and the price is going to be high because of that. Now, how good of a player is Robert? Is he worth high prospect capital? Is he worth giving 2, 3, maybe even 4 of your top 10 prospects? Well, let's dive into some of his numbers, because last season, it was his best season in the show. He played a career high 145 games. He put together a 5-WAR season, and you look at his numbers. He slashed 264, 315, 542. He crushed a career-high 38 bombs. He cranked 36 doubles with a triple, and he added 20 stolen bases in 24 attempts. Now, he's a true 5-tool player. He's a dynamic base runner. He ranked in the 84th percentile of MLB players in terms of sprint speed. He posted an elite barrel rate. He's also a top-tier defensive center fielder. He's got plus range. He's got a great arm. He's accrued plus 13 defensive runs saved and plus 24 outs above average in 3,116 innings of work. So he's a true 5-tool player, right? He's dynamic on the base pass. He is a elite defender in a premium outfield position, the center field position. And yes, you had James Outman, finished 3rd in the Rookie of the Year voting last season, hit 23 home runs. Yes, Andy Pages has flashed a lot of potential this season, but Pages you could easily move to a corner outfield spot, and you got Luis Robert as a center fielder for this Dodgers team for the next 3.5 years. It would completely solidify a position that there's still a question about at this stage, right? Some positions on the Dodgers, they're locks. Freddie Freeman at first base, Will Smith at the catcher spot. Some other positions, there's still a lot of questions about. The center field spot is one of them, along with the shortstop spot. So with Luis Robert Jr., you not only add an elite bat that helps you win this season, but you plug in a hole that needs to be filled long term. Now, what are the cons when it comes to Luis Robert Jr.? Well, one, he has 5 career IL stints, plus another shorter one for the COVID-related IL stint in his career, and he's still really young, right? Just 26 years old. So the injury history has always been his knock. I mean, if you're looking at a guy throughout the course of his career, he's pretty much missed half the time. Now, I've seen people compare him to Juan Soto. It's not Juan Soto, okay? Juan Soto averaged 155 games a season and 6 WAR in 3 seasons before the Padres traded him to the Yankees, okay? So let's pump the brakes on the Juan Soto thing. Very, very different players. But yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Yes, for the last couple of seasons, he has dealt with some injuries, but he is coming off a season where he did play 145 games. And I think if you are a competent organization that can throw him into your strength and conditioning program, you should be able to keep Roberts healthy, right? I mean, the White Sox, they're a bad organization. No one's motivated there. No one's happy there, okay? You need to free him from Chicago and get him into your organization, and then you can find a way to optimize him and look under the hood and see what needs to be done to make sure he stays on the field. Because yes, the injury issues are apparent, but the very last season, he did play 145 games. Now, you have to mention the start of this season where he did miss 2 months after suffering a grade 2 strain of his hip. So that's definitely a concern. And in 10 games this year, it's got off to a slow start, slashing 200, 220, 475 with a 91 weighted runs created plus and 3 home runs. So that really is the big question. That's the number one biggest question. If you're a team, whether you're a team that wants to contend this year, an all-in team like the Dodgers, or a team that's on the rise that just wants to add a star-level talent, is you're going to have to give up some of your top assets in your farm system for a player that has faced a lot of injury issues in the start of his career, right? So that's definitely a big roll of the dice that you're going to need a really bold organization that's in love with what Luis Robert Jr. can do to be able to accomplish that, right? I mean, if you look at him last season, a 128 weighted runs created plus, I think that at his best, I think he's a 140 weighted runs created plus guy, right? He also hits 38 home runs. So what you're getting is a bat that's anywhere between 25 to 40% above league average that can hit you anywhere from 35 to 40 home runs. Also plays elite defense, has a great arm, also is a dynamic base runner. He stole 20 bases in 24 attempts last season. So he's a very, very tantalizing player. He's very intriguing just because I don't think that he's come close to fully realizing his potential because he's been in a bad organization. I would love to see what Luis Robert Jr. can do when he's 1, healthy consistently for multiple seasons, and 2, batting in a lineup with more talent surrounding him, 3, have better coaching, better development, better analytics. The White Sox, they are a dumpster fire that bears repeating. So the cons are the injury history. Also, another con, if you want to point that out, doesn't walk that much, has a career 5.3 walk percentage. He does have his issues chasing pitches off the plate. And since 2020, only Salvador Perez, Harold Ramirez, and Javier Baez have swung at more pitches outside of the strike zone, and he has a 46.3% chase rate. And you look at that contact rate, 54.6%. That's below average. Has an 83.2% contact rate on pitches in the zone. So, yeah, he is a free swinger at times. There's no doubt about that. But if you look at the strikeout rate, it's at 25.5% for his career. So that's not outrageous when you look at the production. I think there are ways that you can reduce that. And I think that if you put him in this Dodgers organization, you want him to be who he is, right? And go out there and do damage. But I think, too, you could increase that strike zone awareness, and hopefully you would see a little less chase. And that's why I think that he could absolutely take it to a whole nother level. So talent-wise, this guy's undeniable. Only question is, hey, the injury history is real, and he's only played more than 100 games in a season one time. So are you really going to give up 2, 3, 4 top prospects for a guy that's only really played one full season? I think it's a tough ask, but I also think that his talent level makes it where it's a possibility, where it's something you would strongly consider just because he's that damn talented. Now, what would it cost for Robert, right? Well, I think you're looking at the very least 3 top 10 prospects, whether it be a Dalton Rushing, a Josue DePaula, or a Jackson Ferris, or a Peyton Martin, some mix of their top 10 prospects, or if they're intrigued by one of the big league talents that the Dodgers have, could you do a Josue DePaula, a Gavin Stone, a Peyton Martin? Could you consider throwing in Tyrone Lorenzo, a Diego Cartaya, right? The Dodgers have the prospect capital to get a deal done for Luis Robert Jr., and the Dodgers have a long history of doing deals with the Chicago White Sox. So I think that if he's truly available and they're interested, look, you've seen the success the Dodgers prospects have had around the league. Ryan Pepiot and Michael Busch. I mean, they've had their ups and downs, but still, I think that it's pretty clear that the quality exists within the Dodgers farm system, and they know how to develop. You want to take advantage of some of that development. Now, I do wonder, with Chris Getz of the Chicago White Sox, if he is really going to pull off a heist, right? Is he going to get the haul? Because we know it's going to cost a king's ransom to get Luis Robert Jr., but this is ultimately going to be the move that could define his career, and he's really just a brand new GM for the White Sox. So sometimes in these situations, you can see people bring in outside consultants, and they do it in the off season, but I still believe that the White Sox are better served by moving him now than waiting until the offseason. And the longer you keep him, you risk those injuries and you risk his value going down if he has a rough year, anything like that. So I think when you look at teams like the Braves and the Dodgers and some of these contenders that could use outfield help, you're going to get a ton for him now during the season. You could still get a lot in the offseason with 3 more years of team control, but I think right now you could take advantage of this market and the teams that are available. Now, who are some other teams that could be competing with the Dodgers for Luis Robert Jr. if they were interested in him? Well, I think the Chicago White Sox could get a phone call from Farhan Zaidi from the San Francisco Giants. So the Giants, they make a lot of sense, but the Giants, they could be sellers too. But still, even so, they need a star, and he's locked up, so it could make some sense. The Baltimore Orioles, they have the prospect capital to get a deal done. Do they make that trade? Kind of feels like a Texas Ranger to me as a possibility. So, look, I mean, I think you're looking at teams that have 1, prospect capital, 2, they're not just in win-now mode, but they have a win-now window, right? Not just this year, but the next 2 or 3 seasons, and then 3, payroll flexibility. So, when you look at that contract, I mean, yes, it's still affordable contract, but I think certain teams will consider that as well. So, yeah, Luis Robert Jr., make no mistake about it, he is leaps and bounds ahead of everyone on this list as far as overall talent and overall impact that he can have on your team. Now, would I do the deal? I think it really just all depends on the Dodgers' evaluation internally. If they believe they can keep him healthy, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not saying that I would name my first son Luis Robert McKain if they traded for him, but I might name my next dog Luis Robert, all right? Or at least Robert Jr., something like that, because he's a very, very talented player. And really, oftentimes, these prospects that you have in your organization, you can only hope and dream they turn out to be as good as Luis Robert Jr. at the age of 26. You guys know the motto here, parades over prospects. This team needs to do whatever it takes from a trade standpoint, from a free agency signing standpoint, to win a World Series in the next 2 to 3 seasons. I think that in year 1, I'd go all the way in, because the sooner you win with Shohei Ohtani, the sooner all the pressure comes off your shoulders. Because every single year they don't win a World Series with Shohei Ohtani, it's going to be a cloud that just continues to grow over this organization. So if I'm Andrew Friedman and the powers that be within this organization, I'm saying, you know what? Let's get it done in year 1, and then every single World Series we add after that, it's going to be icing on the cake. Yeah, maybe some will say you need 2 or 3 World Series titles, but anyone that knows ball knows how difficult it is to win a World Series. Look at the Braves of the 90s, how talented that team is. Everyone knows that you get at the very least 1, and then you cement your legacy. And I think that Luis Robert Jr. is a player that certainly could take this team to a whole nother level and really give this offense the boost that it needs. Because, look, Teoscar Hernandez, a good one-year signing, but you're going to need an outfielder in the offseason, right? You're going to need a shortstop at some point. So, hey, you could fill that need already, and you wouldn't have to go through the free agency process, and you get a guy that's extremely, extremely affordable. Okay, number 2 on our list is Tyler O'Neill. So Tyler O'Neill, he's activated from the IL. He had right knee inflammation. He's a free agent after this season, and Tyler O'Neill is someone that has been extremely, extremely productive this season. He really is back to being the power hitter that he was. He's back to being that dangerous hitter that he was. And he did fall off a little bit after his hot start. But if you look at his numbers overall, Tyler O'Neill this season in 43 games has hit 11 home runs. He's hitting .252. He's slugging .503. Has a 134 weighted runs created plus. So he's been 34% above league average. Only issue with Tyler O'Neill is last season he played 72 games. Season before that he played 96 games. 2021 played 138 games and had his best season. Hit 34 home runs and had a 143 weighted runs created plus. So he was 43% above league average offensively. And he strikes out a good amount at 33.3% strikeout rate. Does take some walks at 12.8 walk percentage. But I think the big fear with Tyler O'Neill would be if you trade for him and he gets injured for whatever reason, and then you're post-trade deadline and you have nowhere to go if you want to bolster this lineup. Now, the main pro in Tyler O'Neill to me is the fact that he's on an expiring contract, right? This is a pure rental, and the Dodgers like rentals when it comes to guys they get at the deadline. I mean, you get these guys that, okay, we'll evaluate you. If it works out like a David Freese, then we'll bring you back. But in the most cases, they're looking for help this season. And then when it comes to long-term deals, they have to love that player. So you're not going to find too many players that you absolutely love at the trade deadline, but guys that can help you this season. And Tyler O'Neill is certainly someone that could help them this season, bring some pop. And if he's right, I mean, we're talking about a 30 home run guy that's extremely dangerous at the plate. You know, he's average to below average defensively, right? He's not going to be a plus there, but Tyler O'Neill is definitely a name to keep your eyes on. And also consider this. If they truly are considering or want to bring back Kenley Jansen, he's someone that could also find himself traded during this trade deadline. And if the Dodgers really want him back, we know that they like to do package deals. We know they like to get multiple players and get some value, right? Just see last season, Joe Kelly, Lance Lynn, right? This is what they do. Trey Turner, Max Scherzer. So they like to go twofer. They like to buy one, get one, half price, right? They like to take advantage of these deals. So I would not rule that out either. Definitely think that there's more than a 0% chance because of the way that the injuries have impacted this bullpen. We still have to see how Bruce Dark-Gratterall comes back. How is Brian Brazier going to come back? Kenley Jansen, not the worst option. I'm just saying. I'm not all here for it. Definitely not. But what I know about this organization is they were interested in it after he left. They showed some interest in the offseason. They showed some interest during spring training. And when they show interest in a player, usually it's for a reason. And unless that player completely falls off or gets injured, it's probably there to an extent. Now coming in at number 3 is Oakland A's outfielder Brent Rooker. Now, I think Rooker is one of the more unlikely outfielders to be traded at the deadline, but I know so many of you love him, so let's talk about him. Now, the best thing about Rooker is Rooker can rake. So far this season, hitting .270 with a 158 weighted runs created plus. He's cranked 12 home runs, and I think he's really starting to establish himself as a guy that you can just guarantee he's going to hit you 25 to 35 home runs. He's a 30 home run hitter in the show. Last season, he posted a career high 30 home runs, a 127 weighted runs created plus. So really, from a track record standpoint, we've only seen him do it for a whole season once, and then this season through 51 games. So is that long enough of a track record to give up top prospects for a guy? I think that's a big question. Also, he's not a plus defender. He's a below average defender, and he strikes out a ton. He has a 33.8% strikeout rate. It's the second highest among all qualified outfielders in Major League Baseball. Like I said, due to the team control aspect, I don't anticipate him getting moved. unless the A's just want to completely burn it down to the studs and not keep any pieces for the future. But still, if he is available, I think there are going to be a lot of teams interested just because of the pop that he brings. Now, coming up next on our list, number 4, and then coming in at number 3 is Angels outfielder Taylor Ward. Now, Taylor Ward's been one of the more underrated players in Major League Baseball over the last couple of seasons. His breakout year came in 2022. He posted a 137 weighted runs created plus, hit 23 home runs, was continued to just be consistently solid. This season, a 116 weighted runs created plus, hitting 253, which is identical to last season. With the home runs, 11 home runs already in 258 plate appearances after 14 home runs and 409 plate appearances last season. If you look at his contract status, he's under team control for another couple of seasons, 2025 and 2026. You get the rest of this season, so 2.5 years of Taylor Ward, but the asking price is going to be high. MLB insider Jeff Passan, he reported that Jeff Passan reported that Angels GM Perry Minasian is reportedly asking for giant returns for both Ward and Joe Adell. And Robert Murray, he tweeted out that the Angels have begun listening to trade offers on Taylor Ward. So clearly he's someone that could be had. Is he the right fit for the Dodgers based on the Angels and Dodgers trade lack of history, right? I mean, Artie Moreno would probably rather trade his mom and grandma than trade a player to the Los Angeles Dodgers who he sees as the enemy. So that definitely is a conflict, but they got close to getting deals done in the past. So that makes me think that if they feel like they're getting the right players in return, that they would consider doing a deal. But I just think that if you're going to bring in a player with multiple years of team control, that you have to really love that player. Not sure the Dodgers would love him enough to get into any kind of bidding war for his services, but definitely a really solid option if he becomes available at the right price. Number 5, got to talk about Tommy Pham. So Tommy Pham, yes, I've said it before. I've said it again. I've been talking about Tommy Pham for years now, it feels like. Yes, he would help this team. He would be a net upgrade in the outfield if he performed the way he did last year, if he performed the way he did last year in the postseason, and for the start of this season. This year, Tommy Pham, 33 games, 142 plate appearances, hitting 280, 3 home runs, a 110 weighted runs created plus, so he's 10% above league average. Strikeout rate at 21.8%. The isolated power this year is down to 121. So I don't love Tommy Pham. I think the team should go bigger than the Tommy Pham. But I think what you love the most is he'd be dirt cheap, right? I mean, you're talking about a guy who's on a $3 million guaranteed for the Chicago White Sox. You have to pay him a lot less than that, maybe $1 million, under $2 million, something to get Tommy Pham in your organization. I think there is the added element of is this guy a locker room cancer? Is he a clubhouse cancer? Look, I mean, there's some people that think that he's a scumbag. There's some people that think he's changed, right? I think that what we saw last week where he was doing the post-game press conference and they got in that little scuffle and he was saying, I fight all off season just so I can F dudes up. And, I'm not going to start it, but I'm always prepared to finish it. I think it's a little corny, to be honest with you. I think Major League Baseball, you want to see some dog? Dog is what Shohei Ohtani did the other day. Dog is when Shohei Ohtani struck out on 3 pitches, when Paul Skeens went right after him on 3 pitches, and he goes down swinging, and the very next at-bat, he goes yard, right? I think dog in baseball a lot of the times is internal, right? It's not external like it is in football, like it might be in the NBA, because baseball is the thinking man's game. It is a cerebral game. And I think the great players, they show their dog by what they do. Does Corey Seager have dog? Abso-freaking-lutely, right? He's got more dog than a freaking pet store, right? He's got more dog than a freaking vet. He's got more dog than the pound, man. Okay? And you don't see him doing stuff like this, right? I think dog is a little different in baseball. So I don't really think that Tommy Pham brings this edge to this team that they sorely need. I just think he's more of a upgrade as an outfield bat. But could you get that from Miguel Vargas? Could you get that from Andy Pages, right? I think Jason Hayward, he's been a plus since he's returned. So little less bullish on Tommy Pham than I was last season, because last year was a different year. Tommy Pham, to me, made sense last year because that team wasn't as invested. That was the transition year. That was the reset year before they signed Ohtani. He made sense last year. Don't know if he's the answer this year. In fact, I do know that I don't think that he's someone that is going to greatly increase this team's World Series chances. I don't buy into that in baseball. And then coming in at number 6, how about Michael Conforto? Now, Michael Conforto would be higher on this list if he wasn't a San Francisco Giant. Now, does that preclude Farhan Zaidi from making a trade to the Dodgers? Not so sure it's 100%, but it does make it extremely unlikely. But still, Conforto, if he was an option, he'd be a solid option. This year, he's hitting .268, but a 127 weighted runs created plus. He's hit 7 home runs. He has a lot of success against lefties. This year, he's hitting .325 with an .891 OPS. He is a below-average defender in left field, but what you really like about him is his contract. He signed a 2-year, $36 million deal with the Giants. He picked up that player option of $18 million for the 2024 season, so he would be a rental. A little high. I mean, still, they paid down a good portion of that, but I mean, hey, is a player that could make some sense, but yeah, it's unlikely to see a trade with the Dodgers and the Giants. Last time they got a deal done, it was on August 9, 2007, when the Giants traded Mark Sweeney to the Dodgers for a player to be named later. The Dodgers ended up sending Travis Denker to the Giants to complete the trade. They have made 29 deals dating all the way back to 1893 when the Giants purchased John Ward from the Brooklyn Bridegrooms for $6,000. And Ward is actually a member of the Hall of Fame. And his lifetime numbers, he's 275 and over 2,000 hits, hit 26 home runs. So, yeah, they have done deals in the past, so you can't say they'll never do a deal again. But I do think it's just pretty unlikely. Now, coming in at number 7 is Jesse Winker. Now, Jesse Winker is someone that you could make the case could be higher on this list, because he's another guy that's on an expiring contract. He's a 120 weighted runs created plus, 6 home runs, an 815 OPS versus righties. So, yeah, having someone that can hit against righties with Max Muncy out, Kike Hernandez not doing much against righties, Chris Taylor, you know the year he's had, right? I mean, having someone like Jesse Winker definitely could help this offense. A 627 OPS versus lefties, so not as good against southpaws. He's been very clutch with runners in scoring position, hitting .347 with runners in scoring position this season. Does strike out a good amount, 24.4%. That's in the 32nd percentile, but also takes his walks, a 12.4% walk rate. That's good for the 89th percentile. So Jesse Winker is another name that I'd be pretty happy if the Dodgers were able to get, if some of these other bigger names weren't realistic options. Now, another name on this list coming in at number 8, Lane Thomas. Lane Thomas, similar to Rengifo, another year of team control through the 2025 season. Last year of arbitration, slightly above average bat, but he's kind of been injured this season. He came back, and he's someone that has some versatilities. He's someone that matches against lefties, an 871 OPS versus lefties, so that's an option. And then 9, Dalton Varsho. So Dalton Varsho, a couple arbitration years left, so don't love that. 201 batting average versus right, 256 versus left. He's in the 1 percentile expected batting average, but 8 outs above average. He's in the 100th percentile. He's someone that the Blue Jays could look to move. Then coming in at number 10, because some of you guys have asked me about this guy for the last couple of seasons, Jazz Chisholm. Now, Jazz Chisholm pretty much burned his bridge to Los Angeles after his comments about the longtime Miami Marlin and now Los Angeles Dodger, Miguel Rojas. On a podcast, Jazz Chisholm had this to say about Miggy Rowe. You can't be a team leader when you've got guys that's been in the clubhouse, that's been in there 9 or 10 years, even though they suck. They've been there for 9 or 10 years, and the team calls them the team captain, but they're not a good captain. They're not a good person. You're not even a good athlete at this point. You're just here, and you're bringing down the young guys that are supposed to be good. So, I mean, Look, that's just, those are fighting words, man. Those are too fiery. Miguel Rojas is too beloved, and I guarantee you that they would respect the clubhouse if they didn't want to bring in a Jazz Chisholm or even entertain the idea. In fact, Miguel Rojas, he did fire back saying that Chisholm was entitled. Miguel Rojas said back, whatever you want to say about me as a player, you can have that opinion, but you saying that I'm a bad person when you don't even know me, that's kind of what bothers him. So, look, I mean, for this is not going to happen. I just want to throw it out there just because if it weren't for the fact that Jazz Chisholm had popped off like this, then maybe he could be a potential option because he's a solid player. He's not a great player. He's about 7% above league average, has a little pop, has 8 home runs this season. He has 2 more years of team control after this year, and he's a popular player. He's on the cover of MLB The Show. I think he would be popular with the young Dodgers fans, right? He has some juice. He has some charisma, but still, unless they were going to give him away on the cheap, right, because the Miami Marlins are going to be big-time sellers, and that's really the only reason why you would include him on this list, because if you could get him for a bargain price, he could definitely make a lot of sense because he plays center field. He plays above average center field, and we know that teams out there, they need a guy like that that can hold it down. And yeah, Jazz in another universe could make some sense for the Dodgers. For this team, I would say absolutely not, unless Miguel Rojas went to the organization and wanted him, or there were serious talks about it, maybe as a part of a Tanner Scott deal, right? Then maybe you go and you meet with your clubhouse to see if that's something that they would be accepting of. So I don't see that as a realistic option, but I had to throw some of these names out there because you guys always ask me about some of these players and just want to give you my thoughts. But that is going to do it for this episode of Dodgers Dugout Live. Let me know down below in the comment section, who do you want to see the Dodgers trade for? Would you be willing to give up multiple top 10 prospects for Luis Robert Jr.? Who do you think they should target? Let me know down below in the comment section. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the #1 Dodgers YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and you know the drill. Comment GOAT Tani down below so you're eligible for our Shohei Ohtani Authentic Road Gray Dodgers jersey. We'll be giving it away, so definitely be sure to do that. And remember, nothing brings us together quite like Dodger baseball. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.